We are announcing an operation called Al-Aqsa Floods. In the first part of it, 5,000 rockets have been fired. It is the time to unite, all the Arab and Islamic powers, to overthrow the Israeli occupation. Don't hurt the old and the young, but fight. This is the time to expel those occupying our land and for them to pay the price for its crimes and murders. Gather in mosques and pray that we will be victorious.
Saturday, October 7th, 2023. Hamas entered into bordering areas of Israel through Gaza Strip that included a barrage of over 3,000 missiles and the air, sea, and land penetration of Israeli territory. This was the most intense operation by Hamas since it forcibly seized control of Gaza and removed Fatah officials in 2007. The attacks targeted civilian locations, including residential areas, and resulted in well over 100 Israeli soldiers and civilians being taken hostage. The militants even attacked an open-air music festival, massacring at least 260 people. As of 9th of October, over 1,400 Israelis have been killed.
Israel is at war. We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it.
The roots of Hamas trace back to Muslim Brotherhood. In 1928, an Islamic scholar and school teacher named Hassan al-Banna started preaching Islam in Egypt. Al-Banna considered Islam to be a comprehensive system of life, with the Quran and Sunnah as the only acceptable constitution. He called for Islamization of the state, the economy, and society. He founded the Society of Muslim Brotherhood, better known as the Muslim Brotherhood, one of the largest and most influential Islamic revivalist organizations. In the 1930s, the Brotherhood made a presence in the British ruled Palestine. In 1935, Banna sent his brother Abd al Rahman al Banna to Palestine to build contacts. Its focus had been on reorienting Muslim society, while the Palestine Liberation Organization, founded in 1964, championed the Palestinian national sentiments. On June 5, 1967, anticipating an attack from the neighboring countries, Israel launched a preemptive strike against Egypt, targeting its air force and gaining air superiority in the initial stages. In a swift and decisive military campaign, Israel managed to gain control over the Sinai Peninsula and Gaza Strip from Egypt, the Golan Heights from Syria, and the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, from Jordan. The war lasted for 6 days, ending on June 10th, with a United Nations brokered ceasefire. Israel's victory significantly altered the region's geopolitical landscape as it gained control over territories that expanded its border and had a lasting impact on the Israeli Palestinian conflict. After Israel captured the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan and Gaza Strip from Egypt in 1967, the Palestinian Liberation Organization would adopt a 10-point program to start a guerrilla war against Israel to liberate Palestine. The Muslim Brotherhood, on the other hand, would still stay away from politics as their approach was that time for jihad had not come yet, and that they should first build a stronger, pious Islamic society, which they called as the upbringing of an Islamic generation. Sheikh Ahmad Yassin, the physically challenged half-blind cleric of the Brotherhood, established Al-Mujamma al-Islam, the Islamic Center, in 1973. Israel recognized the center first as a charity and then as an association. This allowed Yassin to raise funds, build mosques, and set up educational institutions, including the Islamic University of Gaza. The 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran saw overthrowing of the monarch government of Pahlavi dynasty by Ayatollah Khomeini. This would change the landscape of the Islamist politics across West Asia. Islamist organizations, having witnessed the political success of the mullahs in Iran, started becoming politically more ambitious and active. The 1980s saw repeated clashes between the left-wing supporters of the PLO and the Islamists in the occupied territories. On December 8, 1987, several Palestinians were killed in a traffic incident in Gaza, involving an Israeli driver, leading to a wave of protests. This incident led to an explosion of pent-up anger of the Palestinians, who, despite the PLO's fighting and activism, were not seeing any end to the occupation. The occupied territories were swept by a mass uprising. The PLO called on its supporters to join the Intifada. On December 14th, the Brotherhood, under the leadership of Yassin, issued a leaflet asking Palestinians to stand up to the Israeli occupation. In January, they issued another leaflet under the name Harakat al-Muqawama al-Islamiyya, the Islamic Resistance Movement, in short, Hamas, which means zeal in Arabic. The charter issued on August 19, 1988 was rooted with anti-Semitic remarks. According to the charter, Palestine is an Islamic Waqf land consecrated for Muslim generations until Judgment Day. There is no solution to the Palestinian problem except jihad, and all peace initiatives are a waste of time and acts of absurdity. In 1989, Hamas launched its first attack, abducting and killing 2 Israeli soldiers. Israel cracked down on the group, arresting Yassin and jailing him for life. When the Oslo Accords were signed, allowing the formation of Palestinian authorities with limited powers within the occupied territories and recognition of Israel with two-state solution, Hamas strongly opposed it. It rejected the two-state solution and vowed to liberate the whole of Palestine, from the river to the sea. In October 1994, a year after the Oslo Accord was signed, Hamas carried out its first suicide attack, killing 22 people in Tel Aviv. In the 1990s and early 2000s, Hamas conducted several suicide attacks targeting Israelis. In 2000, when the Second Intifada broke out, Hamas was in the driving seat. Hamas supporters fought pitched street battles with Israeli troops who used brute force to crush the protests. Israel had also taken a policy of targeted assassinations. In March 2004, Israel killed Sheikh Hasina with a helicopter-fired missile in Gaza City. Abdel Aziz Yassin's successor was also killed in April 2004. Khalid Mashal, another top leader, survived an attempt on his life by Mossad in Jordan. Hamas continued to remain defiant, targeting Israeli troops and settlers. In 2005, faced with Hamas's violent resistance, Israel unilaterally decided to pull out of Gaza. Hamas's violent tactics and Israel's collective punishment of Palestinians seem to have helped the Islamists gain popularity. In the 2006 legislative elections in the Palestinian territory, Hamas won 74 out of the 132 seats, while the Fatah party, the PLO's backbone, got only 45 seats. In its election manifesto, Hamas showed for the first time signs of moderation. It dropped the call for the destruction of Israel, which was mentioned in the 1988 charter, and said its first priority was to change the situation for Palestinians. We are committed to defeating the occupation and the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital, as well as defending the Palestinian people by all possible means. Hamas formed the government, but faced opposition from Israel and most international powers. European countries, including the US, have designated Hamas as a terrorist organization. As tensions rose between Fatah and Hamas in the West Bank, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas dissolved the Hamas government, declared a state of emergency. This led to violent clashes between Fatah and Hamas. Consequently, Fatah ousted Hamas from the West Bank and Hamas ousted the former from Gaza. Since then, Hamas is the government in Gaza. Following Hamas's capture of Gaza, Israel imposed a blockade on the Strip. While Hamas never gave up its rights to armed assistance, the organization signaled changes in its outlook over the years. While it still refuses to recognize Israel, it has offered Hudna, a lasting ceasefire, if Israel returned to the 1967 border. In 2017, it adopted a new charter from which the anti-Semitic remarks in the original charter were removed. The new document stated Hamas is not seeking war with the Jewish people, only with Zionism. The rise to occupation of Palestine. Hamas advocates the liberation of all of Palestine but is ready to support the state on 1967 borders without recognizing Israel or ceding any rights. The Saturday's attack, which indiscriminately targeted both Israeli troops and civilians, suggests that Hamas has now returned to its original tactics: fight the Israelis using any means available to them.